Lenox, Alabama. It is July the 12th, 2024. Today we'll be having a debate in-house. Mandessa Thomas came down from Atlanta, right?
Correct.
She's a member, created a large atheist organization for blacks. And so we're going to have a talk with her in just a minute. Let's see. Here is Mandessa Latifa Thomas. And there's another name I missed. What was your maiden name, I guess?
Well, my main name is Dixon, but that is not me.
That's not you?
That is a woman who looks similar to me, but
that's what came up on the internet.
Nope, that's not me. That's a different Mandessa.
Well, that on the screen is not me either. This is me over here. Okay. Okay.
Well, yeah, no,
that's a different. I'm sorry, that's what came up. Anyway, okay. Born in New York City. That's right one.
Mm-hmm.
Black nationalist household that wasn't religious, although some extended members were, and she sang in church choirs. I'd like to hear you sing sometime. In 2011, she founded the Black Non-Believers of Atlanta. As president of the Black Non-Believers, she urged people to come out and stand strong with their non-belief. I agree. You should stand strong on whatever you believe. Christians need to take a lesson from me on that one, okay? She serves on the board of the American Atheist and is a board nominating committee chair for the American Humanist Association. Previously held board positions with the Foundation Beyond Belief, Secular Coalition for America, 2016 Reason Rally. She was named Unitarian Universalist Humanist Associates 2018 Person of the Year as a free thought heroine in 2019 by Freedom from Religion. Okay, regularly presents at conferences nationwide, has appeared on major media such as CBS Sunday Morning, CNN, been featured in Jet, Playboy, The Humanist magazines, and other print and online media, including Freedom from Religion, Free Thought Matters. She and her husband Craig, who's also an atheist, were married in 06, live in Atlanta, and have 3 children. She's been on the Matt Dillahunty show. So have I. Okay, I did Whack an Atheist with Matt Dillahunty. What's that? A month ago. Okay, ranking religious debates. Kent Hovind, Matt Dillahunty, Bart Ehrman. Okay, Matt Dillahunty versus Kent Hovind, atheist experiments. So she did a great session on how to identify white supremacist ideals. Now listen, if you think you're superior because of the color of your skin, you're stupid. Okay, real stupid. I've talked for years about racism. There's no biblical reason for it. You don't think you're because of your skin color. Have a weekly Sunday gathering. We do too. You only need to move just a little further. You can be Baptist again. Okay. Let's see.
That's me right there.
That's you. Okay. There we go. Well, that's actually a picture of you. Okay. Let's see. She says in the box here, I was exposed to Christianity, Islam, and different forms of supernaturalism that is rampant in our community. She told a Secular Woman interview. In her early teens, let's see, I thought maybe I was spiritual but not religious because I knew how Christianity was forced on blacks. Before long, she ended up firmly in the atheist camp. Well, folks, I love a person who's motivated to spread their belief. Why aren't more Christian activists for their Savior who died for them? What on earth are you doing, for heaven's sake? Okay, so let's convert Mandessa to the Lord while she visits DAL, and she can use her passion to bring people to heaven. Mandessa, welcome to Dinosaur Adventureland. Why don't you tell us why you're an atheist? Explain to us what the atheist religion teaches about how the world got here, why we're here, and where you're going when you die. Welcome. Help me welcome Mandessa to Dinosaur Adventureland. Thank you. Thank you. All right.
You're welcome. Thank you very much for having me, and thank you to your awesome team, Sergio, Joseph. They have been quite hospitable, and I will say that there are many other human beings who could learn and benefit from their hospitality. Okay. Having been in hospitality as a career myself, I do value that, and also how other human beings are treated. And that is what informs my identity as an atheist and a humanist. And first, I would like to get into some definitions. So atheism, as a definition, is the rejection of belief in gods, and I expand that to also spirits and supernatural beings as existing entities, as in you and I sitting here right now. I do not believe that any God, spirits, or supernatural beings exist in that form. And my reasoning for that is similar to what you said in your introduction. I was raised around various religions. So I don't just simply believe that the Christian deity does not exist in actual form like we do. I contend that all religions, all cultural beliefs are relegated to folklore. They are relegated to historical factors as far as what people used to believe and what people currently believe, but none that can actually qualify on an evidentiary basis, meaning that they do not exist as we are all sitting here. So that is not simply a belief. It is the lack of the belief. It is the rejection of said beliefs that have been reported to exist and that these gods supposedly exist. I, again, am informed by my upbringing, my background, and my education. And I am proud to say that I was, like I said, raised in the Black conscious community, which taught a lot about Black history and culture. And I will be bringing up some facts, especially that relate to the state of Alabama. And you mentioned that, yes, there is no room for racism, and I absolutely agree. However, there has been plenty of justification and implementation of racist ideals, primarily by Christians. So I think it is very, very important, even in the state where we are sitting today. So, and that is historic, that those are facts. So where I contend that my atheism is valid is that, one, there is no concrete evidence or proof that any God exists. And as far as the creationism, as far as the creationist argument or the presentation, there are four major forms, which is young Earth creationist, which I know is what you and your camp are. That is what y'all believe. There's also progressive creationism. You have intelligent design, and also theistic evolution. And I know you just did a debate with the theistic evolutionists recently, as yesterday. So the fact that there are four major different forms of creationism in itself does speak to the varied viewpoints of how the Bible in particular is interpreted, what people get from it, and that it's all subject, again, to interpretation, which does include some scientific theory, some scientific practice. Now, I am not a scientist. I am a community organizer. I am a mother. I am a parent. I'm a wife. You know, I am a community leader. And most importantly, I'm a Black woman in this country who has to deal with other societal factors. So these are all of what inform my lack of belief in any divine intervention or divine being. Now, certainly there are different forms of creationism. There are different creation stories from various religions, and Christianity is just but one, and they have taken from older religions, some from Egyptian mythology, some from probably Greek and Hindu mythology. So there is a melting pot, if you will, beliefs that make up and comprise Christianity and other beliefs. And when you study it, when you look at it and you compare and contrast, all of which are based around simply belief and cannot be quantified in an evidentiary manner, it leaves so many interpretations. So it's so subjective and cannot be qualified so that anyone should simply believe in these entities as if they actually exist. And another problem with that is that these beliefs are often infused into public policy. They are often forced on other people to believe, which is how we got the transatlantic slave trade, which is how we got the Inquisition, which is how we got the Crusades historically. And so if there is a loving God that is to be believed and that is to be real, then there would leave very little room for interpretation. Everyone here would be on the same page. There would be even very little dissent within the Christian belief. And there are so many different denominations of Christian belief that we can tackle. But as my position as an atheist is that none of them are real. None of them exist beyond human imagination, human creation. And there are many forms of things that we believe in, like Santa Claus or other fictional characters that can offer some benefit in life lessons, things that we can take and live as better human beings. But as far as stating that they are actually real, I definitely, as an atheist, and many of the atheists that I represent, will say that it is insufficient to qualify on an evidentiary basis, and so therefore we reject them. Yeah, and that's all I have for now.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, ma'am. Let's see. Many points, talking points here. You are correct that people throughout history have misused the Bible and other books to justify their racism. It's tragic. I live in Alabama. Believe me, I understand. But I'm from Illinois, and we won the war, by the way. Remember that, okay? The North won the war. So I think it was awful and hideous what happened in American history, and I'm embarrassed by that. I wasn't here at the time when it happened. But if I'd been president, I'd have done it sooner, okay? No reason to enslave anybody. But we got to be cautious because that's exactly what's happening now with some political parties that are trying to enforce their, you have to pay for everybody else's, health care or welfare or something like that. If it's forced on you, you got it. That's a form of slavery happening right now. But it's not over with, okay? But it's on the other shoe on the other foot. Let's see. Many historical factors. You said there's no evidence for a deity. I understand that. I think that's why I think most Christians admit we believe. We have a faith. We believe that's the only logical answer. Somebody had to make this world. The atheists, I don't think they admit they have just as much of a religion. You have to believe there is no God. You can't prove such a thing. You can believe that. If I said, how did this ink pen get here? Well, there are two choices that I can think of. Somebody made it or nobody made it. It made itself. If there's a third option, tell me. I don't know what it is. Okay? So if I chose to believe nobody made this, I think people would think I'm a fool. I don't know who made it. I don't know where he is, and I don't care. But I know somebody made it. I think if you look at nature or biology or earth science, or if you just study anything around us, you'd have to say, somebody had to make this. The only alternative that's ever been offered against that is the universe made itself from a big bang, an explosion, a dot exploded, dot of nothing exploded. I think that's completely silly. So if there's another alternative that you know of, Mandessa, about how did the world get here? How did we get here? Why are we here? And what happens when we die? Those are three fundamental questions that every religion tries to answer. So how did the world get here in your mind, Mandessa?
Okay, so I'm speaking as a layperson here.
Okay.
I am speaking as someone who is a history nerd, I will say.
Okay, me too.
As well as someone who values science and science education. Now, taking your example of the pen, and this is our lovely Black non-believers pen here for those who are looking. There is a story about the history of pens, which has started in 3200 BC. Now, I know that we know that to be before Christ. So the use of writing tools, definitely, there's a history there.
Right.
So to just simply just say, well, I don't know where it came from without any sort of critical inquiry could be considered disingenuous. So there has been many scientific inquiries, many historical inquiries, and we can certainly, even if there is something that we don't know firsthand, like you said, you weren't there at the time of when the laws actually justified slavery, racism, segregation, Jim Crow laws, which were very, very active in the state of Alabama here in particular. We certainly can look to the history of it and also how it has changed over time, how pens were made, how they were used, and we can see that through different forms. There is definitely historical data, different cultures, cultural data from archaeologists, not just paleontologists or people who use the scientific method, but also historians. There are plenty of ways to date those. And there has been enough in the way of scientific inquiry to trace back our roots of human origin, our different origin of species. And I noticed that there are a lot of dinosaur replicas here on your facility, which is great, but actually there are species that are older than dinosaurs. The common cockroach is actually one of the oldest species on Earth, actually, as well as sharks and alligators. So we're looking at reptiles here that were definitely older. So it didn't just start at dinosaurs, as history and dating and scientific inquiry and methodology has shown. So there are plenty of ways to find out how things were, how things came to be, how they did evolve over time. and a form of slavery. You mentioned slavery for people paying for other people's welfare, but I thought that that was a thing that many Christians seek to do. If there are people who are in need, if there are those who cannot afford to pay their bills, should there not be a communal practice for us to help each other? That is the humane thing to do. That is not enslavement. The enslavement is for people to have way more than others have, and they are living in poverty and they are suffering. And another form of enslavement is to believe, or to have people believe, that God created this suffering so that they can have this heaven in the afterlife. And my position as an atheist is that that is inhumane, and that everyone should have, every human being should be able to live a life where they have this inquiry, where they are able to have better access to education, better access to information, and also to have the liberty to believe or disbelieve what they want. Right. However, there is a number, there is so much information at the tip of, at our fingertips, that we can look at, even if it is not something that we actually are experts in. There are certainly a lot of things that we can look to, and we can take the information and decide whether it is valid or not. But based on a method that can be replicated, that can actually be presented in a form that leaves no room for doubt. So that is how, taking that example there, it's not just simply enough. It is okay to say, I don't know, when we don't have the answers to things. But there's so much information at our fingertips that we can look up to say, well, we may not know, but there is the plausible means for how it started and how we got here now. And it is through years of, and probably centuries, if not more so, of human ingenuity, inquiry, and exploration.
Okay, well, let's go back to the ink pen example. You are correct. People were writing things, with a stick on the dirt or a piece of iron carving into the rock, 3200 BC. It still involves intelligence to pick up the stick and write. Then it developed into the quill, the feather, fill it with ink, and the fountain pen and the ballpoint pen. All of them involve intelligent design. Even the stick writing on the dirt involves intelligent design. This is where you're completely missing the point. The point is, we know this cannot make itself. To follow the history of how we got a pen is completely avoiding the question, how did this pen get here? Somebody had to make this. Somebody had to make this microphone. Somebody had to make this computer. These things, complex things, don't happen without a designer. Now, if you wish to believe there was no designer for the universe, which is a bazillion times more complex than an ink pen, that's fine. But I wish the evolutionists would admit that evolution is a religion that they believe in. There's no scientific evidence. You could not prove there's no designer for this pen. I don't have any idea who did it or where they did it, nor do I care. But I know somebody did it. Now, as far as welfare, I think you're confusing something else, horribly confusing this one. I'm very generous. I work hard all the time. I give lots of stuff to everybody. But when you force people to give, that's not Christian charity. And taxation is forcing people to support people. I support a lot of people. How many of you have I given something to? Okay? That's what the difference. That's what some people think, well, it ought to be forced on everybody. That's where it's slavery again. So it is another form of slavery. We'll do another debate on that topic. Okay. You mentioned older than the dinosaurs. I think you've maybe been taught something that's simply not true in your education. Let me see here. You've probably been taught that the layers of the earth are different ages. Put my slides up there, brother. This geologic column does not exist anywhere in the world, okay? Not true. Atheism, let's see. They made up this idea back in 1830 that the layers of the earth are different ages. I say, guys, stop and think about that. How can the layers be different ages? Every speck of dirt in the universe is the same age. Whether you want 6,000 or 6 trillion, I don't care. There is no such thing as a geologic column. I taught earth science 15 years. I'll debate any of you evolutionists on this one, any earth science, any geologist, okay? Hate to burst your bubble, but there's no Santa Claus, there's no fairy tale, there's no Easter Bunny, and there's no geologic column. The atheist worldview is based on this column. That's why you said this is older, because it came from a different layer. The whole thing is pure baloney. Tell them I said so. Charles Lyell, British lawyer who hated God, made up this idea. started it, the principles of geology. Charles Lyell made up this geologic column. It really influenced Darwin in his studies. Darwin said, wow, the Earth is millions of years old. I've asked evolutionists all over the world, guys, if the layers are different ages, where's the new material coming from? Is it coming from outer space? How can the top layer be younger? It's not. All over the world, petrified trees are found standing up, connecting all the layers. How long does a dead tree stand around? This geologic column, I know it's thoroughly taught and billions of people believe it. That's not how you determine truth. Do a bunch of people believe it? That is not, it's not how you, truth isn't determined that way. Let me get to this one right here. Does majority opinion prove something is true? What about, well, it's published in peer-reviewed journals. Does that make it true? Important scientific study proves the results of a scientific study depend upon who's funding it. Yeah. I collect biology textbooks. I taught biology 15 years. I'm pretty knowledgeable on the subject. But I think you'll find that there's two ways to look at things. Look at this. Barringer crater. Wow. Look how close it came to hitting the visitor center. No. The fact that we find things in different layers is not proof of anything. All the layers formed in Noah's flood in 1 year with hydrologic sorting. Is the proof that a whole bunch of people follow communism in China? Does that prove it's true? I bet there are no anti-communist peer-reviewed journals found in China, because you go to prison if you do that. 1.4 billion people follow this guy. Does that prove he's right? Does majority opinion prove Islam is right? A whole lot of people in Iran follow this guy. How many articles against Muhammad are published in peer-reviewed journals? None. They'll cut your head off. There's 1.9 billion Muslims who believe if you disagree, you should be killed. Does that prove they're right? So the fact that a lot of people followed Hitler, arguments are, nobody knows exactly the population. Somewhere around 65 million people followed Hitler, and you better, or go to the gas chamber. And 6 million people died. The fact that somebody's in power and is in control of the media even, he controlled the media, he controlled the textbooks, and he was wrong. 60% of Russians claim to be atheists. It doesn't prove they're right. So majority of North Korea prove they think communism's good, and the guy should never get a haircut. Okay. Mandessa believes if you succeed in getting all the blacks in the world to believe there's no God, does that prove there's no God? Of course not. Is that going to help the world? Is it going to help the black community? I would say no. Now, if you believe it does, then go on your crusade. But I think I appreciate your zeal for your cause. Hitler had zeal for his cause too. Okay, so did Stalin, so did Mao Zedong. A lot of people have zeal for their cause. That is not evidence that something is true. You're zealous, you're excited, you're pushing to get a cause, yay. I think it's misdirected. So there is no geologic column. There is no proof the Earth is billions of years old. And there's not a possible explanation to explain this ink pen without a designer. Giving me the history of it does not answer my question. How did this one come to be? Did somebody make this, or did it make itself? Go ahead.
Oh, that's very, very interesting. And they're being made about my position.
Okay.
And also, I'd like to ask, where did you teach where did you get your credentials for your science background, and where did you teach it?
Here we go with the ad hominem attack, folks.
No, that is a valid question.
I'm a kindergarten dropout. I have no education whatsoever. But I'm smart.
So then there are religious schools that are accredited.
Right.
I'd like to, that was a valid question. Oakwood University, which is a historically black college university in Alabama. You have Notre Dame, which is a Catholic school. You have Yeshiva. You have your schools that are accredited, who also understand that there is a level of academic criteria that needs to take place in order to have a very valid and well-rounded education in addition to religious beliefs. Now, you're saying all of these things about what there is not. The conversation here today is atheism versus creationism.
Right.
Now, I am not asserting that God simply does not exist because I say so. I am saying that based on all of the previous assertions of God, that they are false. Now, you have not said anything about why your version of creation is true and why the earth is only about 10,000 years old. Mm-hmm. You showed a lot of pictures, you showed a lot of graphics, which actually do show that the earth is older than 6 to 10,000 years old. There are older religions that show that Jesus, as many believe, is older than the 2,000 years that it has been dated for him, for he, she, or that entity to be in existence. And so there are a lot of false comparisons here. I have never actually said that I want all Black folks to stop believing in God. I do take issue with religion as a whole, and you basically made my points for me. Was that you said that just because a whole bunch of people believe in it doesn't necessarily make it true.
Right.
That is true for the many versions of Christianity that purports that God, Jesus, Jehovah exists. So you are absolutely right about that. I think we are on the same page there. But like I said, I am not asserting, and if we are going to go with that real world example, we can take people like Jim Jones, who led almost 1,000 people to their deaths in 1978, claiming that he was the Messiah, because that was a book that was he followed a book that was subject to interpretation, and that lended itself to this being without evidence. So really the onus to prove that these beings are real are on those who believe in it, i.e. you and others.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
There is nothing in what you said that you show that creationism is any more valid than evolution, and the evolutionary and how it came about. There is nothing there that you have proven there. So I would like to ask again, where does your accreditation come from? And is it based on actual scientific theory, or is it simply based on the Bible, the book that you believe in? And if it is, then we would consider that disingenuous.
Okay. Well, again, it'd be an ad hominem attack about the degree. It wouldn't matter what degree I had. Charles Darwin had only graduated from college to be a preacher. He had no other accreditation. But they call him a scientist today. The only degree he got, he couldn't even find a job as a preacher. So his dad got him a non-paying job for 5 years to sail around to be the ship's captain's companion, because the captain of the ship wasn't allowed to socialize with the men in those days on the British ships. You got to have somebody to talk to. So Charlie, you go with him and play chess when the sea's calm. But I think the whole question of accreditation, are there any, back to my example of, in Muslim countries, are there all the schools teaching Islam? All the schools teach you should kill anybody who's not Islam? Yeah, that's what their Quran says. You're required to kill somebody that doesn't believe what you believe under their religion. There's 27 verses in the Quran that say that. You're required to kill people who don't agree with you. I don't teach that, okay? But if you make your argument over in Iran or Iraq, saying, look, where's your accredited degree that says Muhammad is a prophet? Well, they would cut your head off for disagreeing with them. So the whole argument from accreditation is false at its face. I have 4 doctor's degrees, 3 earned, all from non-accredited Christian schools. I think if a person went to an accredited college and earned a doctor's degree and still believed they came from a rock, that person is stupid. Okay, I don't like their degree either. Just because they believe, oh, you came from a rock and we evolved from rock soup billions of years ago, and you're related to a potato. They might have the highest degree there is. Somebody might be highly educated in Adolf Hitler's Nazism, but they're still wrong. So the whole argument from that. Now, as far as I give on my video number 1, to answer your question about the age of the Earth, I cover about 40 different ways to prove it cannot be billions of years old. For example, the moon goes around the Earth once every 27 days. The moon is about 239,000 miles away, okay? The moon is moving away from the Earth. Everybody agrees that studies this. The moon's moving away about 1.5 inches a year. It's called the lunar recession problem. The moon is leaving us, theatlantic.com. The young age for the moon and the Earth, Dr. Thomas Barnes. Spaceplace.nasa.gov. We're drifting apart. The moon is leaving the Earth 1.5 inches a year. Our moon is moving away, Forbes.com. The moon is moving away from the Earth 1.5 inches a year, Astronomy.com. Okay? The moon is leaving us. I don't know anybody who argues with this. If you study it, you'll say the moon is leaving. Okay? Astronomy books are found of quoting the fact the moon is gradually spiraling away from the Earth. Space Answers. NASA, physics.org. Why is the moon leaving us? The moon is moving away 4 centimeters, about 1.5 inches a year, 3.8 centimeters technically. Okay. Why is the moon getting further away from the Earth? BBC News, space.com. So I think you'll find everybody would agree the moon's moving away. And I think common sense would tell us that means it used to be closer. If you bring the moon back in closer, you create a problem. The tides get higher. The closer the moon, the higher the tide is. Ask anybody who lives along the beach. When the moon goes in an oval around the Earth now, when the moon is closer, you get a spring tide, higher tide. Okay? Moon's leaving us 3.8 centimeters a year. Well, there's a law in physics called the inverse square law. If you bring something into 1/3 the distance and it's attracted by magnetic or gravitational pull, you take that 1/3 fraction, inverse it, and square it. It's 9 times the gravitational pull at 1/3 the distance. Inverse square law applies to gravity. It applies to light. Photographers have to study that. You know, how far away are we from the light source? How much lighting do we get at 1/3 the distance? It applies to magnetism. It applies to girls. When I get a distance from my wife, there she is, honey. You see that? Okay. If you take that 1/3 the distance, it's 9 times the pull. At 1/3 again, it's 81 times the pull. It's over. Never mind. Okay. So the moon is moving away. You can study this for yourself. This is just one of about 40 proofs that I give. The evolution of the lunized semi-major axis presents a well-known timescale problem. The lunar orbit collapses a little over 1 billion years ago. Astronomical Journal. They've known this for 70 years. The moon creates a problem. If you bring the moon in closer, pretty soon, like two magnets, it snaps together 1 to 1.2 billion years ago. This is a problem. It's not a problem for me, because I think the whole universe was created 6,000 years ago, but it's a problem for those who want to believe it's 4.6 billion. I've never had a good answer for this one, other than to say, well, maybe the recession rate's not always been the same. Well, it's been observed for centuries. This is what the scientists are saying. You got 1 billion years to make your religion happen. You can't have 4.6 billion. Sorry. This fact alone puts the age of the earth at 1 to 1.4 billion years old. If any of the evidences that I've given could be proven that there's no other explanation, would you then come up with some way to explain how the universe got here in less than 4 billion years? Because that's what they're teaching now, 4.6 billion. The moon says you can't have more than one. So I know time is the god of the atheist. That's able to do anything. You give it enough time, you know, life can get started. And we're all related to potatoes and butterflies. This is the religion of atheism, that you think all life forms are related. And I'm telling you, that's not scientifically demonstrable. So you asked about time, the age of the earth. That's just one. I can give you all 40 if you'd like.
Actually, no, I didn't. I asked about how does your creation belief stand up to scientific inquiry?
Oh,
how does
perfectly.
all of that sound? You have gone all the way around just to not answer that question.
Okay, no, I'm not avoiding any question. I think the scientific evidence is overwhelming. Somebody had to make this. And if you look at a single cell in your body, somebody had to make that. One cell in the average person's body is more complicated than the space shuttle. Nobody with 2 functioning brain cells would think the space shuttle could make itself. I think the scientific evidence is overwhelming. Complex things need a designer. Textbooks in school teach the kids everything is related. Humans are related to an octopus. The overwhelming scientific evidence says humans always produce baby humans. You have 3 children. We have 2 cows that are pregnant. I bet you $5 they're going to have a calf, nothing else. We know from scientific observation, cows produce cows every time. But why do they teach the kids in school that cows are related to a butterfly? Here's the answer they give. Well, give it enough time. There you go. You can't have enough time. Sorry, time's not available. So that's why I say evolution and atheism is a religion, which you're welcome to have. But don't call it science and don't call it smart. You can believe that all you want. Go ahead.
Well, first of all, what I said was, as an atheist, that I do think that scientific inquiry is important, and
Good.
also the research is important. Has it always been right? No, but everything that you're saying is absolutely misleading.
Ooh.
And there are absolutely things that you are saying that is just outright wrong. And once again, you in your apologetics are even proving your own belief to be ineffective. Because according to what you believe, God, Jesus, made everything on this earth. And that he, because you believe in him as a form of a he,
Right.
designed everything.
Right.
Correct. Right?
Right.
So The dinosaurs that you have on the replicas that you have, they're not based on anything. They're based on something
There you go.
who someone who made it, just
Right.
like the pen,
Right.
based on older models of pens
Right.
that have been historically created,
Right.
and also different forms of being able to record things
Right.
throughout human history. These are facts. These cannot be disputed. So there is nothing about this brontosaurus in the Bible. You had to have taken that from the research that science and that historians have have produced. That is not in the Bible at all. So again, how does your belief in a book that says that the earth is 10,000 years old, that does not have a name to the various species of the various types of dinosaurs? So you're taking information that has already been proven, and that has been proven in nature, and you're talking about something that is non-organic to the earth. A pen, yes, pens are man-made.
Okay.
Yes, I will take these 2 pens. They are man-made,
Well,
just like religions are man-made. Oh, you can have your pen back.
Okay.
I'm not taking
Thought you
it.
said you're going to take
I'm just no, not at all. I have plenty of pens here.
Okay.
So yes, you are taking something that has been, and also just like these pens are man-made and have been developed over time,
Right.
religions are man-made.
Some of them.
Religions, no, all of them.
Ooh.
All of them.
Even atheism.
Atheism is the lack of belief in any deity.
That wasn't developed. That wasn't developed by anybody.
No, it was not. It was the atheists have always been around. As soon as some religious person said that God is real without evidence, and we said that it's junk. That is absolutely our assertion. So you're taking all of these quote unquote scientific inquiries and what science and scientists say, and it is not an ad hominem to ask where I have some college education. I have a high school diploma, sir. Mm-hmm. So I don't make appeals to authority as far as accreditation, because that is not the only form of education. But the key is education, being able to take the information that you are given, and if you need to test it or replicate it, there are methods to do that. I do value that. Good. As an atheist, as a humanist, and as someone who values that. However, to just simply say that something exists simply because, and you are not providing irrefutable proof of that, again, that is irresponsible, that is disingenuous, and it has led to so many conflicts throughout the world, as you said, with the different things that people believe. And no, not all Muslims simply believe that if you don't subscribe to belief in Muhammad or Allah, that you're automatically going to be decapitated. That's the same way that other people could say that all Christians believe that if you don't believe in Jesus, that you're automatically going to hell. There are some Christian denominations that don't believe that anymore. They don't subscribe to that anymore. And again, there are 4 different methods of creationism here, and y'all all don't even agree with each other. Right. Y'all don't agree with each other. So therefore, there is all sorts of room for error there when it comes to what you are asserting to be true.
Okay. Well, that's why everybody needs to agree with me. And that's why God sent you here. You're here. And you're wrong about several things there. Dinosaurs are in the Bible. The word dinosaur is not there, because the word dinosaur was made up in 1841 by Richard Owen. It means terrible lizard. But in the book of Job, chapter 38, 39, 40, it talks about behemoth. It says this animal is the biggest animal God ever made, and he has a tail like a cedar tree. He moves his tail like a cedar tree. You need to watch my video 3. I'll give you one if you'll watch it. So yes, dinosaurs are mentioned in the Bible. The Bible says before the flood came in the days of Noah, the people lived to be 900 years old. This is what the Bible says, and there's lots of historical evidence of legends that are found from countries around the world, China, India, countries that have ancient roots that go way back thousands of years. Almost all of them have a legend called the Golden Age. They'll say there was a time on earth when man used to live to be 1,000. Google Golden Age, and you'll see it's a very common legend among ancient cultures. Now, the Bible says 900, not 1,000, but it's a biological fact that reptiles never stop growing. Snakes, lizards, turtles, tortoises never stop growing. If they could live to be 900, they would get 60 feet long. They find fossil turtles 15-foot diameter, but the world's biggest turtle today is 5 feet. Well, how do you explain a 15-foot turtle? before the flood came, this is the age when people lived to be 900, and they find fossil grasshoppers 2 feet long. They could not survive today. They couldn't breathe. Insects breathe through spiracles in their skin. They don't have lungs. It's a surface area to volume ratio problem. But the insects, dragonflies with 4-foot wingspan are found. They couldn't fly today. They find fossils of just about everything that are huge. I would say this is evidence that sometime on the earth, I think just 6,000 years ago, things were different. They find fossil ducks, 550-pound ducks, bigger than a horse. They find fossil beavers 8 feet long. We find fossils of just about everything alive today in gigantic form. So the Christians have a wonderful answer for that. The Bible is true. People used to live to be 900. The world was different back then. It had a crystalline canopy above, water above the firmament where the birds fly. I cover all this in my seminar. So can I prove it? No. I believe it's true, and I think the evidence shows it's true. So yes, you're wrong about dinosaurs. They're mentioned in the Bible. Now, Abe Lincoln, I believe, dropped out of school in 2nd grade.
Okay.
So, he wasn't qualified to be president. He wasn't qualified to set the blacks free. He wasn't qualified for nothing. He dropped out in 2nd grade.
Okay.
Okay.
So and actually, like you said, the word dinosaur is not in the Bible.
Neither is computer. Neither is computer.
And yet we use it, right?
Right.
We certainly use it for our survival here.
Right.
Which goes to show even as far as if you don't believe in evolution as far as all of the different species, it shows the evolution of technology and what we use. Certainly people from ancient Greece believe that lightning was created because Zeus threw thunderbolts. We now know that isn't true.
I agree.
So therefore, and actually, where are the fossils for the people who live to be 900 years old? They don't exist.
Well, you're wrong about that.
Where is that? Sir, you made that assertion. Where are
they? Billy, those books I just had you put over there, there are many books written on the topic of giant skeletons that have been found. They over there? This is my library here. There's a lot of evidence that man used to be much bigger, okay? Now, that kind of evidence goes against the evolution religion, so they try to hide it.
That was a simple answer, sir. Where are the actual fossils that show that humans were 900 years old?
The Smithsonian has lots of the evidence in their basement because the evolution view teaches man started like a chimpanzee and we're getting bigger, better, stronger, smarter. And the truth is, I can document this from teaching high schoolers 15 years, people are getting dumber. It's getting worse.
Wow, okay? That's interesting.
Yeah, oh yeah, you should have sat in my classroom. But the question is, the issue is, the Bible clearly says they live to be 900. A person that chews on anything, the masseter muscle and the frontalis muscle, the muscles of your face, pull on the bone. Any bodybuilder will tell you, the more you lift weights and build your muscles, the more the bones grow. It's a slower process, but you gain bone density by muscle exercise. A person who lived to be 900 just simply chewing their food every day would end up with a larger brow ridge. I covered that last night, or yesterday, 2 nights ago. The brow ridge grows bigger, just leaning your head over and pulling it back up. The muscles at the back of your neck pull on the occipital bun. Your head would get longer. The Neanderthal skeletons that they're finding have large brow ridges and 13% bigger brains than ours. I think that's evidence they're living to be hundreds of years old. Not that they're half man, half monkey. That's evidence of old age.
That is evidence that they lived older than what the Bible predates, not that they lived to be 900 years old.
Here we have a book that's never been proven wrong, claiming they live to be 900. If you have some proof that that's wrong, this is what it says. I've chosen to believe that. But I admit, this is my faith. Mm-hmm. You believe these charts represent science. You believe that an amoeba produced all these life forms.
Actually, that's not what I believe.
Do you believe?
I also don't believe that we came from a rock. There is sufficient evidence to show that we came from different organisms.
Okay. What evidence is that?
Yes.
How has any farmer in the world ever seen a cow produce a non-cow or a dog produce a non-dog?
We go.
Well, where's the evidence?
Argument there.
Where's the evidence of any animal producing offspring other than their kind? Where's the evidence for that? There's none that I'm aware of. I've been at this for a long time. And you do believe you came from a rock. I'll show you right from your textbooks if this is what you believe. Big Bang Theory, the Earth cooled down. Let's see. I got thousands and thousands of slides here.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure you do.
Oh, yeah. I've tried to be prepared for this because I want to convert you, okay?
No. Well, you're not going to.
Oh, just give me, come on, let me try at least, okay?
I mean, you can try. Yeah, let's go for it.
because Pascal's wager. If I'm right and you're wrong, you're in trouble judgment day.
Well,
I don't lose anything either way.
It's your hell, you burn in it.
Okay.
Just like everyone else will.
Well, no,
I mean,
no.
and I'm going to hell in every religion anyway.
I deserve to go to hell, but I'm not going. Okay,
No.
I got born again, been saved. Okay, the textbooks teach. Here we go. The origin of life, right here. Sorry, here I got so many things. Stellar evolution. I clicked the wrong button. I'm going. See, it really helps if you ask the questions in the same order that I have the answers. That would help a lot. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Right there. Put that up on screen, brother. Let's see. The sun's gravity pulled the dust into lumps. And at first, the Earth was a ball of molten rock. This is from factmonster.com. Let's see. Earth was formed. It was a hot ball of rock. Earth started off as a hot ball of melted rock orbiting the sun. Okay? National Pornographic. Earth was a hot ball of rock. Newest research says Earth was still a hot ball of rock. Okay? Earth was a hot ball of rock 4.6 billion years ago. Earth began as a hot ball of rock. Atheist Aaron Ra, I think you know him. He says,
sure do. Love him to pieces.
I'll debate him again anytime.
What's up, Aaron?
Hi, Aaron. Bring it on. Anytime, Aaron. Come down, sit right here, okay? He says, nobody believes we came from a rock. Well, the textbook says Earth began as a hot ball of rock, and 3.9 billion years ago, it rained on the rocks and turned them into soup, and the soup came alive. In the oceans, 3.5 billion years ago, the first living organisms appeared. Earth started off as a ball of very, very hot liquid. A few hundred million years later, the temperature reached 2,000 degrees, and Earth's core was formed. Earth formed 4.54 billion years ago. All these collisions and all that rock melted. The Earth was a hot ball of rock. This is from Berkeley University, okay? I'm sorry, University of California. Yeah, Berkeley, okay. Millions of years of rains created the oceans, and swirling in the waters of the oceans is chemicals. And the chemicals turned into a soup, and the soup came alive. The atheists, all of them I've ever met, when you pin them down, they have to admit, yeah, we do believe we came from a rock, slowly, over billions of years. Whether it's slowly or quickly, here's Yale University, former fireball, the Earth became habitable. It transformed itself. How Earth transformed itself. It was a hot ball of rock, and it slowly cooled down and rained on the rocks for millions of years. Well, tell me then, how did life get started on the planet? They're telling the kids this first life form formed from the soup in the oceans, which was from the rocks melting from the rain on the rocks. If you don't believe you came from a rock, tell me, where did life get started?
Well, I certainly know that it did not come from this being that supposedly is
that's not the question.
No, I am telling you.
You know God didn't do it.
No, yes. I am pretty certain that the Christian God in the Bible that you believe in did not create the earth in 7 days, where he created everything even before the sun.
Okay.
That I definitely do not believe.
You will when we're done.
It is implausible. Now, all of these things that you mentioned, all of these things that are from billions of years old, yes, they do. There are definitely plenty of rocks on this earth, just like there are plenty of human beings. Now, certainly there were probably other organisms and species on this planet just the same as rocks. Now, am I a scientific expert? No, I am not. And you even admitted, you said that you taught science education.
I did.
We cannot actually, you said you were a kindergarten dropout, though. I'm sure you were being facetious there, which is fine. But, because I can Jones with the best of them too. That's great.
Cool.
So therefore, for you to actually say that, but there has to be some basis for why you simply but you said you disagree with it simply because of your faith.
No.
And your faith. Yeah.
I disagree with it because the scientific evidence says non-living things cannot make life. They're telling me in the textbooks and in the University of Bath when I was over there, and all these things are saying, we started from hot rock that got rained on and made soup, and the soup came alive. This is what they're teaching the kids. I see no evidence for that whatsoever. Primordial soup is what came alive and made the first life form. That's not science.
Which county or which school system actually teaches that in the words that you put it? Can you point to that?
I could show you probably 300 textbooks that have this same idea that life began from the soup in the oceans. Where did the soup come from? It rained on the rocks for millions of years. If the earth was a hot ball of rock, there's no water there. It has to cool down enough for it to rain, and that makes the soup. What does primordial soup consist of? Primordial soup. This is common knowledge in every textbook. I got take time this afternoon. We can look up all the textbooks. But this is what they teach. There's no other alternative theory besides somebody made it. Either nobody made this pen or somebody made the pen. Either somebody made life, a God, whichever God that is, or somebody outside of this world, or life had to make itself with natural processes. There is no scientific evidence of how life can make itself. The first self-replicating systems must have emerged in this organic soup. This is a university textbook right here on the shelf, taught at university level. It must have emerged. So I'm sorry, the scientific evidence is overwhelming that can't happen. Even if they could make life in the laboratory. One atheist said, if they do ever make life in the laboratory, what are you going to say then? I'll say, well, that proves it takes intelligence to make life. Duh, why they got to do it in the laboratory? Why didn't it happen everywhere all the time? We got 17 ponds on our property here. Make some life. Lots of soup out there. So I wish you would admit, I wish atheists would admit, they believe by faith that life got started from non-living material.
No,
that is not biologically possible.
That is
okay, where did life get?
First of all, like I said, as an atheist, you are the one claiming that God made everything.
And you are claiming he did not.
That's correct.
We're both making a claim. Right.
I am making that claim based on your claim. You are taking a bunch of different facts or different scientific queries, and you are trying to fit them into what you believe. Now,
they fit perfectly.
If that is what the Earth shows, then fine.
It does.
Who are we? But it shows that the Earth is older than 10,000 years or 6,000 years. Whether or not we came from smaller organisms, that's fine. There are scientists and folks who have studied that, and I have no issue with that. Like you said before, you were quick to say you weren't there at a certain period of time. Right. Neither was I. But the most plausible explanations are what do come from many scientific inquiries, the history, the study. And I find that, again, and until your God, per se, can actually produce itself as an actual entity to say that all of this is wrong, because that is, again, the basis of what you believe. Jesus is real. He could come and tell us who made this pen. Jesus, God, or whoever is in the Bible. He could come tell us that. Mm-hmm.
I think he did better than that. I think he did come to earth and tell us things. I think he inspired people to write a book, 40 different men over three different continents. And I think he preserved that book all through history. There is no book like the Bible. I believe it's flawless. I don't believe there's any scientific errors in it or mathematical errors. It's perfect. You got some? Let me see them. I've done whole sessions on so-called contradictions in the Bible. The Bible is flawless. I think I can show you.
Oh my.
Take me on that one. Mm-hmm. This book claims to be inspired by God. I think the evidence shows that it is. But we got off track here. So your belief that this textbook says first self-replicating systems able to reproduce must have emerged in this organic soup. Do you believe life got started without a God starting it?
Oh, yes, I don't believe that any God, as far as how you believe in them, as far as in human form, I do not believe that any sort of God. I don't believe in any creation story.
Right, I didn't have to be.
All of them are based on human imagination and human creation. That is really at the point of what we are supposed to be discussing here.
Sure.
My atheism versus your creationism, and why you think that the earth is 10,000 years old, and why I think that all religions, regardless of whether it is older than 10,000 years or whether it is 200 years old, similar or even more recent than that, like Scientology. Right. Why I believe all of them do not present valid evidence to believe in any type of God whatsoever.
And I would turn it around and say there's no valid evidence to say that nobody made it either. You believe atheism is a religion.
No,
it is. You keep saying no, but it is. You won't admit it.
Not.
You believe nobody made this.
No, I didn't. Wow.
Well, who made the world?
What a way to
who made the world?
Like I said, the earth and the universe has formed and has transitioned over billions of years.
It's missing the question.
No.
Who made it?
No one person made it. No one person
That's my point. You believe
Certainly
that.
Certainly not a God didn't.
Okay, that's your belief. You have.
No.
Or do you know?
plenty of evidence to show that, sir.
There's evidence that nobody made this. Where on earth could you find possible evidence?
First of all, I didn't say that no one
No,
particular person.
no God made the universe. Is that your position?
That is correct. I don't believe any God or divine entity or any sort of spirit made this universe or made this earth. I do not.
Well, then God sent you to the right place, because here you can be shown all that. We can teach you all that today. We'll give you the tour. It's overwhelming. If I drive along any town in the USA and I see a bridge over the river, I don't have to see who made it. I know somebody made it. I don't have to see who. Intuition says, nope, bridges don't make themselves. Somebody has to make them.
Yeah,
Cars
bridges were made because humans needed ways to get
over. Oh, I understand, right.
And so it came with humans being able to evolve and transition into
smart
training.
People.
It does take training. With levels of accreditation doesn't necessarily apply. That you don't think that someone who has to build a bridge doesn't have to be trained and accredited in that?
There are people all over the world building bridges that didn't go to school at all in different countries.
Yeah, and some of those bridges had to be perfected by people who did.
You have to go into an accredited degree.
Nobody said you had to have. They had to be perfected by folks with accredited degrees, though. Sure, people can find ways without formal education to be more, to be more productive in human society. However, you cannot simply dismiss that based on beliefs that have, again, no basis in evidence, and you're taking from other scientific inquiry to try to prove that you're right, which is very irresponsible, sir.
Come on now. All the evidence in the world shows you cows produce cows, dogs produce dogs. And you won't find a farmer on the planet who's ever seen his cow produce a non-cow. So why should we teach the kids that cows are related to butterflies? There's no evidence for that. Butterflies always make baby butterflies, every time. But you believe cows and butterflies are related, don't you?
No, actually, I don't. I don't simply think that they are just simply related like we would be a cousin.
Well, do they have a common ancestor?
Well, I don't think that they all simply have a common ancestor.
Well, the textbook says they do.
They may. But certainly, if your God created all of these things, then you believe they have you believe they have a common ancestor as well, which is God.
No. I think all the butterflies probably might have had a common ancestor called a butterfly. And God gave them the ability to produce a variety. Just like there are 450 breeds of cows right now, they might have had a common ancestor called a cow. And God gave the original cows a gene code that's mind-boggling in complexity and can produce variations. Some can survive better in hot weather, some survive better in cold weather. It's still a cow. Some can get bigger, some can get smaller. Some give more milk, some give less milk. Some have more beef. They're still cow. This is where the atheist goes nuts. They see variations within the kind and say, wow, this goes forever. They've been trying to get bigger, smaller dogs. They now have a 4.8-inch tall dog, a teacup chihuahua, completely useless. Do you think they'll ever get a dog as small as a flea? Well, no, there's a limit. This is where the evolutionist does not understand science. They think there's no limit. That protozoa that evolved in the soup was able to turn into a whale over billions of years. Put this one slide up, brother, would you? Okay. Life on Earth bloomed 3.7 billion years ago in the primordial soup. I showed you scientific evidence that the moon says Earth can't be more than 1 billion years old.
Really? Where was that?
I just showed you about the moon is getting further from the Earth.
You said the moon is getting further from the Earth, not that the moon proves that the Earth is under billions of years.
All the scientists that study the lunar recession problem say, look, this is a 1.2 billion year max. The moon orbit would collapse 1.2 billion years ago. There's nobody up there pushing on the gas pedal trying to get the moon to move faster or pushing on the brakes trying to go slower. This is a physical fact that says the Earth cannot be more than 1.2 billion years old. They're telling the kids 3.7 billion years ago, the soup came alive. Somehow sparked into life. There it is. Somehow sparked into life. This isn't science. This is somebody's religious belief, and they're welcome to have it. I don't care what you believe or anybody believes. You can be an atheist if you want. What I do care is they want to force all the kids in school to be taught this, and they want to force everybody to pay for their religion to be taught.
Actually, no, it's the Christians that are trying to push their beliefs in the public schools.
Everybody's trying to push their belief. That's normal.
No, that is not.
You're not trying to push yours?
No, I am not.
Oh.
I am not simply trying to push, first of all, because I don't have a belief, for one. And I received this invitation to come here, and I accepted it, which was fine. I don't mind the engagement.
I'm glad you did.
Yes. So there are many evangelicals, Christian evangelicals, that are trying to push their beliefs in the public schools, which could account for why the state of Alabama ranks at number 45 among the 50 states in in America as far as education, because there is too much Christianity that is being pushed into our schools. And why children are not necessarily learning is because of people like yourself who insist that the earth is 6,000 to 10,000 years old, when there is sufficient evidence that it's not, that it is older.
So I think it's exactly the opposite. I think the evolution theory has dumbed down our schools, okay? That's one of the greatest hindrances to education. We teach the kids, we teach them, boys and girls, you're nothing but an animal. And then we wonder, why do they act like animals? That's why so many school shootings are taking place, because of evolution being taught. That's what Adolf Hitler, that was his motivating factor. Hitler said he believed in evolution. He said,
no, Hitler was a Christian.
No, he was not a Christian.
Yes.
Hitler said, we need to eliminate the inferior races. He had the Jews at the bottom of the list. Right above them was blacks. Hitler hated blacks. And when Jesse Owens, the black American athlete, won the most gold medals in 1936 in the Berlin Olympics, Hitler refused to shake his hand and walked out of the stadium. He said, it's not fair to make my men race against this animal. I'm telling you, evolution is the foundation for racism, not Christianity. Racism, read Charles Darwin's book. Can you grab that right there, the big fat one? Charles Darwin's book, The Origin of Species by Means of Natural Selection, or the Preservation of Favored Races in the Struggle for Life. Here's his book. Here's the title page, Favored Races. Darwin's book talks about certain races of humans are superior to others.
Yes, and that is where many scientists have been flawed. Did I say that science was perfect? No, it is not. Have there been racist scientists? Absolutely. But guess what? The enslavement of millions of African people was justified by the Catholic Church in particular through the Bible, through the curse of Ham. And I know you know that's in your Bible.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is. The darker skinned Ham.
No,
yes,
it doesn't say darker skin.
Yes.
It does say Ham was cursed. It does not say darker skin.
Yes, it does.
It does not. You need to read your Bible.
Well, and it was justified by your religious people.
See, they didn't read. They should have come talk to me. I would have told them that's not what that says. Come on, read it. I've read it hundreds of times. Okay, the black people are not cursed, and dark skin is not a curse. The Mormons teach that. The Catholic, I'm about as far from a Catholic as you can get.
So then how is it that this book that y'all all believe in can produce so many levels of being subjective, that people can base things on race, based on this one belief that y'all claim is perfect? This is supposed to be the perfect word of the Christian God.
Yeah.
Perfect. But yet there are so many different interpretations. Again, there are four different versions of creationism, and y'all all disagree with each other.
See, I'm right. That's why people need to come to me.
Really?
Right.
Okay.
That's why we got thousands of viewers on our channel. We're trying to get the world converted back. I believe that God sent prophets all the time to his people. His own people went haywire. Read a book of Ezekiel or Daniel or Hosea or Isaiah, Jeremiah. He had to send his own prophets to get his people straightened out. He had to send Moses to lead them, the stubborn Jews. So no, I believe that there has to be a God to make the world. To me, it's logical. Somebody made this. It's too complex to happen by itself. If somebody made the world, then he owns it, and he makes the rules. And I think people want to avoid God's in their life because they don't like his rules. And they don't, like one atheist told me. I said, do you have evidence for evolution, or do you believe it because it's convenient for you or something like that? He said, I like evolution because I'm horny. I don't like God telling me I can't commit adultery. Okay, well,
wow,
at least he's honest.
Interesting.
Well, he's honest.
That's
Question.
Interesting.
Question. If you're an atheist, how do you tell right from wrong on any topic? Is it wrong to murder somebody? And if so, why?
First of all, it is wrong to murder just anyway, just because.
Well, the lions do it to the zebras all the time.
Well, do you believe that is wrong?
No, does the lion believe it's wrong?
It is a matter of survival. It is a matter of them eating.
Okay, so if I have to survive and I want to kill my neighbors and steal all their stuff, that would be okay because I got to survive.
No,
that's what you're saying.
No, that is not what I said. I do
Okay.
not believe that.
So it's
simply
okay for
because
the
I don't
lion to kill the
believe-
zebra and eat him because
But
he's got to
you're
survive.
talking about a different species here. You are
Well,
talking about
I
a
thought
different
man was-
species in the lion.
I thought man was just an animal.
No, well, there are some men who act like animals.
Well, yeah,
They
but
really do.
Does man have a soul? There's something different between man. There's
Men
no
do
soul.
not, human beings, and you keep saying it is the form of men.
Okay,
which
I'm
of
sorry. This
course-
is
Yes, which of course the Bible does favor men over anything else. So, and in other religions, there are deities that are in the form of women.
uh-huh.
Certainly not in the Christian Bible, though.
Well, should we open the can of worms? Are there more than two genders? I tell the
Oh,
atheist.
no.
Don't
Because
open that
first of all, this is, I
Okay.
mean, if we want to talk about atheism versus creationism, which
Right,
is
right.
where we're supposed to be, right?
Because I invite all of them to come try to milk our bull if they think there's more than two. Okay. Just try. I want to watch that from a distance. I want to see that one with a zoom camera, and we'll play it on one of them funny videos. Okay. So back to the question. As an atheist, where's the standard for right and wrong? Is it wrong to murder your neighbor's baby and eat it?
Of course it is.
Why? Who decided that?
Of
The
course it is.
the
Just
lion.
like it's wrong for
why?
some deity to demand that he kill his son and to say, "Oh, I was just kidding," like Abraham.
Well, you're
Or like
you're
Abraham.
evading the question.
No, I'm not. Just
yeah.
like I think it is wrong for some deity that you call God to try to say, "Hey, prove your loyalty to me by killing your son." I think that is wrong.
Why would it be wrong to kill your son? Don't some animals do that now?
No.
Some animals. Oh yeah, animals do that all the time.
As an atheist, I don't simply believe that murder is just, and that is because I try to treat people the way I would like to be treated, and I see the overall value of human beings.
Okay, so
I don't sit up here and just simply say, "I don't like you, I should kill you." Now that is not me lacking morals because I don't believe in a God.
I'd like you to tell me, where do your morals come from then?
So they come from they come from a variety of places.
And what if
They
I
come
have different?
from-
What if somebody has different morals and they think it's okay to come steal your stuff?
Well, then there would be a response to that. If someone thinks it's okay to steal my stuff, then there are things that I can do to defend myself and protect myself. But
Right.
going back to where my morals come from,
Where did they come from?
they come from a variety of things. They come from my upbringing.
Mm-hmm.
I certainly read various forms of mythology and also learning about different societies and different cultures, also coming from my parents and my family and those who valued family and also the education.
Right.
So there are many different forms or many different ways I arrive at my sense of morality.
Good. So
Now, it doesn't necessarily always have to, now what some people may consider moral or just might be a little bit different than mine, as long as it is not infringing on my right to live or on my right, then fine. We may disagree on that, but that's fine. I'm not going to just simply judge you or condemn you simply because you may not have the same moral code that I have. But you don't have to believe in a God in order to have a sense of morality. In fact, it actually expands that. It expands beyond belief in a God. And then it actually makes me more moral because I don't.
So if you have a neighbor that does not have your same morals and he thinks it is okay to steal or murder,
then he's going to have a problem. He, she,
well,
or it will have a problem.
Why should they have a problem? Because their moral maybe their moral standard is right and yours is wrong.
Well, why would it be okay for them to take something that doesn't belong to them?
Well, doesn't the lion go next door and kill the zebra baby?
We are talking about a species of people who can communicate the same way. We are able to talk to each other, or at least we should be able to comprehend with each other.
So man is different than the animals.
Well, of course, man is somewhat different than animals. Do we share same traits? Do we share certain animalistic abilities? Yeah, I think we do. I think we do.
I agree.
Now, do we all communicate the same? No. Would I want to be in close proximity with the lion? I don't think you would either.
Right. No.
Now, I hope you're okay, because you mentioned snakes before. I hope you're okay.
I'm fine.
From the snake. Good.
Miserable 12 hours and I'm fine.
Well, that's good because snake bites can kill. But I'm glad you're okay. Would I want to be within the proximity of a snake? No, because I can't talk to it. If there is a snake that comes on my property, it will see its life end.
Yeah.
But is it doing what it may be natural to them as a species?
Right.
Probably. But as human beings who may be coming to, if my neighbor, and I have lovely neighbors who have their own homes, who have their own vehicles, there would be most likely be no reason for them to try to take anything that me or my family has. But if they decided to do that, based on the law, I would be defending myself and my family and my children, and there would be consequences for that.
Right. Well, that's why I'm glad you agree, at least that man is different than the animals. So the question of where does an atheist get their moral standard? If everybody believed like you believe, there's no God. Really, the Muslims then, their standard says, hey, if you don't believe like us, their Quran says we're required to kill you. They may not all do it, but that's what their book says. I can show you many times. The book says you're required to kill anybody who doesn't believe.
And I think they're wrong for that. Just like I said, I think that and I'm sure they have a creation story as well. It is not rooted in evidence, and therefore I don't believe in it, just like you don't believe in their creation story.
And the idea of life coming from the soup is not rooted in evidence. And the idea of the earth being...
It is, though. It's actually rooted in evidence. It's rooted in scientific queries. It is in scientific research. All of these things that just because you don't agree with it does not necessarily mean it isn't plausible. And that is where we are. That is where we are having a fundamental difference here.
Plausible and proven science is very different, okay? It is proven so far life cannot make itself. Somebody had to start it. Nobody's been able to make life in the laboratory.
But you said you don't even have proof that your God did it.
Oh, no. But that's why I admit mine's a religion, and you don't admit yours is a religion.
No, but it's not.
It is. Yeah. You believe by faith life got started in the soup. We can't even make it happen, let alone watch it happen.
The definition of faith. What is your definition of faith?
Well, it's belief in something you can't prove scientifically. It'd be a short definition of it.
Right.
You believe that there's no God. You can't prove such a thing, but you believe that. But you won't admit that's a faith of yours. You think it's scientific. You can prove there's no God.
I'm not trying to prove there is no God.
Well,
people who believe like you often prove that for themselves. Again, the fact that there are so many different Christian factions fighting among each other.
I know.
Prove that this God doesn't exist.
Oh, no, it just proves they all need to come listen to me because I got the...
So you're God. You think you're God.
That's correct.
See?
No, I'm not God. I'm not God. I worship the right God. I have the right book.
Well, interesting.
I didn't say I was God. Don't misquote me on that. So...
you said it. So
I did not. I did not.
Yeah, you did.
So I said I've got the right interpretation. So if I'm wrong, somebody show me. Okay. So far, all scientific evidence has shown cows produce cows, dogs produce dogs. There are no exceptions. This chart is religion. This is not science. There is no evidence that the horse is related to the butterfly or the beaver or the bird. If you wish to believe such a thing, believe what you want. I showed you scientific proof the universe cannot be more than 1.2 billion years old. It can't be. At least the Earth moon can't be. But yet you believe by faith that 3 billion years ago life got started. I'm sorry, you can't have 3 billion years. That's where I keep saying time is the pacifier for the atheist and evolutionist. They think given enough time, it'll happen. That keeps them satisfied.
No.
There's no milk in it. I'm sorry. It's a pacifier. Time, all through the books. Put this one up, brother, would you?
That's interesting because when you talk about time and the rapture, do you believe that the rapture is coming?
I believe so. Yep. Hope so.
So you're actually the one who is depending on time here.
Oh yeah, I believe God created time, space, and matter.
Interesting.
But look at this. Earth formed 4.5 billion years ago. National Pornographic. This is not.
Why are you saying it's geographic? Why are you saying pornographic?
Oh, I guess they always show pornographic. They always did anyway. Pornographic pictures. So
that's interesting.
By the way, if evolution is true, what's wrong with pornography? You know.
Hey, I mean, I'm not sitting up here saying anything is wrong with pornography. You are. You're implying that. I don't think there's anything wrong with pornography unless there are non-consenting adults or not anyone who is not.
Well, should there be clothing standards? Should people be allowed to walk the streets naked?
I think in some societies people have been able to, but unfortunately there have been draconian religious people who have deemed
they messed it up.
Many Christians
they messed it up for you.
Christians have messed up quite a few things.
Oh.
Let's just say that. Yes.
And so have evolutionists and atheists. I've messed up quite a few things. Hitler and Stalin.
Well, Hitler was not an atheist. Hitler was a believer.
He was an evolutionist.
Stalin was an atheist. Do I think that what he did in his power in Russia was right? No, I do not. I'm not sitting up here just like you don't agree with all Christians, and definitely all
Okay.
Christians don't agree with you.
So
I don't agree with all atheists
well, listen.
either.
So if a lion goes next door, kills the zebra baby, and eats it, it's okay because he's hungry. But if a person goes next door and kills a human baby and eats it because he's hungry, it's not okay because humans are different than lions.
Why would a human being
Oh,
kill
that
another
doesn't-
baby?
why doesn't matter. If
No,
they
it does matter,
no,
though.
if
It really
if a
does.
person is starving to death and they go next door and kill the neighbor baby and eat it, is that okay? It is for the lion. He's starving to death. Man, go kill that baby zebra.
No, because
Where's the moral
No.
standard? Where's the
The
equivalency?
moral standard is that, for one, yes, in their natural habitat, lions will kill other species, and there are other species who may kill each other to eat,
Right.
and to feed their young, and to feed. Actually, it's the lioness. It's the lioness that hunts. It's
Well,
not
sometimes
the
the
male
lion does.
lion. No, it's the female. It's the woman lion.
Usually the man
which shows
sits
that
home.
women do have, and females do ultimately have more power than
A whole
men.
other debate
Let's
on this
say
one.
that, yes.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
yes. So, yes, in their habitat, in which I think that many humans have disturbed, in their natural habitat, they do kill other species in order to eat and to feed their young or to feed their
so
families.
humans disturb their habitat. So it's our fault the lion's eating the zebras.
No, it's not. That is what they do. Now,
Okay.
the scarcity of certain habitats are the fault of humans. I will say that. Yeah. Now, those who hunt for sport and not necessarily to eat. Yes. Now, another human being killing another human being just because. Now, there have been instances of humans having to eat other human beings for survival, but that was out of dire circumstances.
Right.
That was because they had nothing else and there was no other choice.
So was it okay?
No, I mean, hey, in those circumstances, it had to be. Now, if someone just kills someone else or just takes another person's baby, of course that is wrong. Of course that is not just.
You say, of course, it's. Where's your standard? Why would it be wrong?
Because my standard is to treat other human beings, for one, like I want to be treated, and recognizing the intrinsic value of human beings, and that I am not going to just simply take someone's life simply because I can. There are consequences to that. There are ramifications to that.
Right.
And so I just would not do it.
But obviously some people think it is okay, and they do it all the time. How much theft is there in the world? For heaven's sake, you live in Atlanta. What's the theft rate up there? You know.
Well, I mean, there are plenty of. I mean, I'm sure there's what's considered theft everywhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm happy. I'm proud to live in the Atlanta area, even though y'all keep saying that, sorry for me, and I know y'all say that as a joke, but it's perfectly fine. Yes, I am not blinded to the reality that there are some people who have to steal there are some people who steal clearly out of greed.
Yep.
There are people who steal simply because they feel like they need more than everybody else. There are others who steal or who feel like they need to steal because they don't have.
But it's wrong.
It is wrong. It is,
well,
first of all, it's wrong for them not to have it.
We're back to the standard.
And if there is a loving God, even according to your Bible, according to the book you believe in, then no one would have to steal. No one would have to be above the other. That would not be a thing. God's perfect word would not be subjected to people living below anybody else and giving the justification to others in order to subjugate them.
And you understand this is communism 101. Take from everybody, divide it equally. Of course, the leader gets more, but everybody gets.
No, communism is actually a system where everyone is pretty much on the same playing field.
That's what I said.
You're thinking of capitalism.
No.
That's what you're thinking.
All right, we're going off. Joseph, we've been going almost an hour and a half. We probably have questions lined up.
Yeah, we can do that because at the end of the day, and I will say this, I am an atheist because I do not believe in any existing claims of God, spirits, or supernatural beings. You believe that as a Christian and as a young earth creationist, that your Bible is that the earth is 10,000 years old and that your God created everything and that he intelligently designed people to even have this pen here. But that I know that we are probably not going to agree on that, and that's fine. But I am asserting my position as an atheist just in case anyone, either in the audience or anyone who is watching here, has any type of misconception about who we are.
Okay. All right, Joseph, what questions do you have there? Or any from the audience here first? Yes, sir. Yeah, please come closer and talk louder. If you got a question, line up here so we can get on the record on the mic. Okay, go ahead, brother. I'm repeating it for the camera here. They passed a law about the 10 Commandments being taught in school or something? I've heard about that.
Yes, I have heard of that.
Do you think that that is a bad thing? And if so, then why do you think the 10 Commandments, what's wrong with the 10 Commandments?
First of all, the 10 Commandments, the question for people who did not hear that in the audience, the gentleman asked about the new Louisiana law that states that the 10 Commandments should be recited in schools. And so I do think that is a bad thing because, for one, it does not represent everyone's belief. First of all, there should always be a separation of religion and government. Everyone's belief, if you believe it, it should be private. It should not be forced into public policy. It should not be forced into public education. If there is a school, if there is a Christian school that wants to have the 10 Commandments cited, then that's fine. But in public schools, absolutely not. It is a gross violation of the separation of religion and government, or state and church. And it also does not represent everyone's perspectives. So therefore, you are trying to have Muslim children reciting the 10 Commandments in the Bible. You are having Jewish children who might be, and also non-religious children. That is a gross violation of separation of church and state. And if you want to keep that in religious schools or in your churches, keep it there and not in the public sphere.
Well, let me finish my side of that question. This is why I've been saying evolution should not be taught either, because evolution is a religion that people believe in. If you wish to believe it, that's fine, but it should not be in public schools, should not be in government buildings. The government should have no influence, should have no financing of evolutionary research. If you wish to believe you're related to a potato, fine. I don't care that. If you wish to believe life came from non-living material, that's fine, but it's a religious belief. It is not scientific, and it should be taken out of schools. If we're going to exclude religion from schools like she wants, then let's exclude evolution as well.
Evolution is not a religion.
It is definitely a religion.
It is not.
You have to believe all kinds of things to believe evolution.
No.
You need to watch Mo's seminar. One follow-up question. Okay.
Well, certainly the idea that there should be no other God than me. Certainly, I and other folks who don't subscribe to Christianity would definitely have a problem with that.
Okay.
Now, there are other.
Thou shalt not steal.
Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not kill. There are certain things that could be considered moral guidelines or what have you, but if they are not equal across the board, which they are not in the 10 Commandments, everyone should not have to subscribe in any belief in the Christian God in order to, that belongs in your churches, that belongs in Christian schools, that does not belong in public schools. You can actually teach people or encourage people to be better human beings without it having a religious framework, so to speak. So yes, I do take issue with the fact that the 10 Commandments, then that's one of the first commandments, is that you shall have no other God than me. Everything else seems to be secondary or tertiary, and yes, there is a problem with that.
Okay, if the commandment said, thou shalt have no gods at all, would you be okay with that one?
No, because if people want to believe in a God, who am I to take that from them?
Yay.
Who am I to take that from you?
Okay, now you said should not be in public schools and government places because it does not represent everyone's view.
That is correct.
Evolution does not represent everyone's view.
Evolution is not a religious belief, and I will state that once again. It is not a religious belief.
Okay, and I will state it again. You are wrong. It is a religious belief.
Hey, then we can go tat for tat about how wrong we are then.
Yeah, but I'm right. Go ahead. Louder if you can.
Yeah.
So we know in the Old Testament especially, it talks about slavery, instructions of how to beat your slave, how to treat your slave. Some of these follow into like the book of Philemon in the New Testament. Paul talks about some slavery. My first question is, do you think in any case slavery is moral? And if not, why don't you think somewhere in the Bible, it's never stated, but why wouldn't there be a commandment like thou shalt not own another human being?
Good question.
Yeah, so if we want to repeat that question, and thank you for answering that, sir. The question pertains to the fact that there are different ways to how to treat your slave that is listed in the Bible. And then why is there not a commandment that says that thou shalt not own another person or slave?
Good question. Okay.
Mhm.
I covered this a couple of weeks ago on our program. If you go back, remember what that one was? Question answer, maybe? Does the Bible condone slavery? Slave ownership was common long before Moses came on the scene. God gave laws to, if you're going to have a slave, here's how you must treat them. That was not codified anywhere in anybody's law. If you had a slave, you could do whatever you want, even kill him, okay? So God did not come, he did not give the 10 Commandments to try to outlaw it. He said, if you're going to have it, here's the rules about it. So watch my program from a few weeks ago where I cover all this. So slavery is wrong. Let me ask you a question, though. 2 million people are today incarcerated in the United States in jail. Is that slavery? They can't go where they want? We lock them up?
It's different from the slavery we're talking about.
Why? You take away a person's freedom, you lock him in a cage. I think we should close down all the jails. In the Bible, it's very simple. For crimes, you either get a fine or a beating or executed. If someone rapes and murders your daughter, he goes to jail for 20 years. You got to feed him now for 20 years and worry about him getting out. It'd be much better psychologically if you could watch. He committed a crime. He murdered your daughter. He should be executed publicly. You can weep for a few weeks or months and get over it and go on with life. Our system, in the Bible, I asked 1,000 men when I was in jail. I did a survey for my book. If you were given an option after you're found guilty of the crime, whatever the crime is, doesn't matter, you're guilty. And the judge says, do you want 5 years in prison or 20 lashes? Which would you take? All but one of them said, I'd take the 20 lashes. I get to go home. I'm hurting for a couple of weeks, but I go home. 5 years in prison, what's your wife supposed to do now? How's she supposed to pay for the groceries? So the biblical method of handling crime is fine them. You steal my sheep, you pay back 4 sheep. Everybody goes home happy. Now you steal my sheep, you go to jail for 5 years, I got to feed you for 5 years, and your family goes on welfare, and I got to feed them too. We're robbing everybody. The system doesn't work. I'd banish all jails, but yes, prison is a form of slavery. So is taxation.
I think I'm talking about taking an innocent person away from their family in chains and putting them in forced labor.
Jails do that a lot. Judges make money off the prison system. So yeah, I know, but my point is, prisons do the same thing. Take them. Some people, innocent people, take them away, lock them up away from their family.
Why do you think there was never a commandment that thou shalt not own another human being?
Well, in the New Testament there is, okay? But in the Old Testament, the law came along. People were already doing it. God didn't try to just simply abolish it. He said, look, if you're going to have one, here's how you got to treat them. The law, there's a different reason. I didn't hear that. What now?
What was the passage in the New Testament you said it already does?
Well, I don't think it, I'd have to, I'm not prepared.
16 speaks about stealing a man's house.
Yeah, there are verses, I don't have it in front of me, but there are verses in the Bible against that, okay? But yeah, prisons is a form of slavery. In the Bible, you get a fine or beating or executed, not prison. So when I become king, I'm shutting down all the prisons. I'm going to give the guys an option. Hey, actually, if somebody murdered your daughter and raped and murdered your daughter and he's in prison, I'm going to give him the option. Would you like me to let you out? You got to live at his house now? Let you handle it.
Yeah, it
Well,
definitely sounds like.
I answered the question. God did not come along. Slavery already existed around the world. He didn't attempt to. It was a fact. It existed. It's wrong, okay? But God came along, gave the law, and says, "Oh, well, I don't know. Ask him when you get there."
Wow.
He did not say. He did not say, "Don't have slaves at this point." He said, "Look, if you're going to have one," and he didn't say you should have them. Is you working a job for somebody 8 hours a day and they give you a paycheck? Is that a form of slavery? You got to be at the job 8 hours.
No, it's not. No.
Okay. So you have to. Well, isn't that what slavery is? I'll feed for you. Oh yeah.
No, it's
You
not.
work in my field. I'll give you a house and food to live. And
No, that is not.
this is a
slavery
whole
at
different
all.
argument on evolution and
Mhm.
atheism. But so, yeah.
Yeah.
But that would be, I think, a poor reason to reject the Bible because God did not choose to address it at that time.
Well, Jesus
What was it? Right. Yeah. Whether at all is the question. If you don't like God's morals, of course you can do as you please. But then society gets together and says, "Well, we're going to have some rules. You don't go this fast on this road, or we're going to give you a fine, or take away your driver's license, or something, or lock you up." Society can set their own rules. We set rules for this campus. If you want to live on this little property, you can't drink. You can't take drugs. You say, "I got a right to drink." Okay, go out on the street, drink, don't come back. So, okay. You have a right to make rules in your house. That's fine. It's private property ownership, which is biblical. Okay, yes, sir.
So there's a clear distinction between mankind and animals. We are unique in the universe. That's clear to tell. There's no pack of dogs that has ever organized a charity drive. There's no group of monkeys that have ever organized a vote that we're aware of. We are special. Creationists call it a soul. Atheists call it sentience. Can you point to me the transitional fossil where we evolved this sentience, where we evolved this thing that puts us so far above any other thing on Earth?
Well, first of all, I don't think we are that far above. And also, as you are defining it as far as charity drives and such, yes, as human beings, we had the ability to communicate differently. Actually, there are species of bonobos and monkeys that have communities that do for each other. They just don't communicate the same way that we do. Now, sir, I'm still speaking though. No, I'm not.
Nowhere in the scale. For instance, take slavery. We know that there was a group of people that enslaved another group of people, and to justify that, we have the North invade the South and rectify it. We don't see that anywhere in the animal kingdom. There is no group of animals that tries to rectify a community wrong anywhere.
Again, that is because, and now you are sitting up there interrupting me for one, which was very rude.
You have to answer the question.
No, excuse me, don't. First of all, I don't appreciate how you are talking to me right now, and don't do that because I did not talk to you like that. Now I'm sitting up here, I'm not speaking as a scientist who can actually go word for word through the entire process. None of us here can, clearly. But I don't think that we are so far above certain animal species that we can simply say that we are just simply above them simply because we may do things differently and we communicate differently and we've been able to do things to this earth transformatively, some for better and some not so good, because we are definitely dealing with environmental issues because of human beings. Animals did not create that. We are certainly dealing with pollution. We are dealing with so many different things as far as food insecurity to where we've had to create these drives for, nope, you answered your question. I'm answering your question. Nope, next question, sir. Nope, nope.
Go to the end of the line, come back again. Yes, ma'am.
So you were asked, where do you get your moral framework?
And I responded to that, yes.
Basically, it's the do unto others model. Do you realize that where you're getting your basis for the do unto others model is found in Matthew 7:12?
Actually, there are older schools of thought that do have do unto other the golden rule. What is considered the golden rule? Sure, excuse me?
Just because something's older doesn't make it better.
But you know what? That is right, and also that there is some truth to that. But however, like I said, there are schools of thought. I didn't say that there was never anything in the Bible that people couldn't learn from.
I'm just saying your moral framework is
My moral
founded in
framework.
Scripture.
No, it's not. It comes from varied forms. It comes from different forms and different, like I said, my parents, my community. It comes from different things that I've read, different things that I've learned. If that is in the Bible as far as do unto others, then great. Everyone should learn from that. But does that make the God that you believe in real? No.
Okay, but the whole argument, there's no reason to be good without God.
No, there's actually plenty of reasons to be good without God. If you look at many of the wars that were fought in the name of God, where millions of people died, then you would certainly say that this God is not good. And like the question of slavery came up before, the fact that there is something that says God did not stop slavery. You mean to tell me that there's good in that? So there's a God that is sitting around watching all of these things happen in the world, but yet he's sitting around doing absolutely nothing. You think that's good?
I don't know.
Or there's a moral code that comes from that.
Okay, well, just because someone does something in someone's name doesn't mean that the person that they're doing that in their name endorses the quality of what they're doing. I could run around and do something in Dr. Hovind's name, but that doesn't necessarily mean he endorses what I'm doing.
Well, Dr. Hovind could certainly put his foot down on that and say that this is wrong. And because he is an existing entity, then we would actually hear him do that.
And God does.
No, he really doesn't at the end of the day.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir.
Just a simple yes or no would do, Hunt. Do you believe you are a primate?
Actually, yes, we are primates. We are primates. Yes, we are.
But this goes back to definition of terms. I don't think the animals care at all how we classify them. They know what to look for in a mate, okay? They don't even know that we're classifying them. Carolus Linnaeus made up the classification system we currently use, kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species. And to say someone is a primate is to slap a label on of a classification that the animals don't care about. We could label all the tools in the shop as hammers because they're made out of steel, and you can pound a nail in with a wrench. Therefore, it's a hammer. You could pound a nail in with a screwdriver. Therefore, it's a hammer. So this whole classification thing is silly. The animals don't care how we classify them. They don't even know we're classifying them. And they know what to look for in a mate. We got 2 cows that are pregnant on the North 40. They're up there mixed in with the donkeys and the sheep and the possums and the squirrels and the armadillos. I promise you, they're going to have a calf. That cow didn't even think about looking at the sheep as a mate. And they don't even know what they look like. The cow doesn't know what he looks like, but he knows what to look for in a mate. So I think that God designed them to bring forth after their kind. All scientific observation for all of human history would say that works. It's all we've ever seen. When God said they bring forth after their kind, that's all we've ever seen. This is not science. This is somebody's religious belief that all these kinds of animals came from a common ancestor. You can believe that if you wish, but please don't call it science. Nobody's ever seen a whale produce a non-whale. There might be 20 kinds of whales now. They might have diversified, but they're still whale. But they got whale connected to the butterfly. You can tell all of them. Kent Hovind said, that's stupid. And I'll debate them all. Real stupid.
Okay.
Tell them all, okay? Bring them on. Go ahead, brother.
Hi, my name is Jeff Stafidi, and I was an acquaintance of Jeffrey Dahmer. Now, he killed these people.
Get it where they can hear it. You were an acquaintance of Jeffrey Dahmer. Jeffrey Dahmer.
And he had killed these people at 8 parts of their body because he wanted some of their attributes. He wanted darker skin, he wanted curly hair, he wanted muscles in his arms, he wanted to run faster. Now, where does his morals come from?
Now you're asking about. So the question is, where did Jeffrey Dahmer's morals come from? Actually, having watched documentaries and reading up on Jeffrey Dahmer, I'm not sure that's entirely accurate. He definitely, because he didn't just simply kill black men. He actually first killed young white men. And that was out of, according to the documentaries and the research on him, that was due to his trying to satisfy his need for companionship. And when these guys tried to leave him, he killed them. And yes, he did eat parts of their bodies. Now, as far as him wanting darker skin, I'm not sure if you said you were an acquaintance of his, and did he say that, or did that come out of his mouth, or?
It wasn't darker skin. He wanted to get their skin, their texture.
Well, no,
I'm not sure if it was just assumed or it was found out later, but that's what I had found out.
Okay, so again, I think that's disputed. I mean, I'm not, and also I'm not kind of sure where I'm sure he grew up with both his parents. He certainly did not have a perfect childhood. I think there was something that could have been, there could have been something in him that some sort of trauma, whether it was mental or emotional in some way. I don't know exactly what caused that. It could be a number of things that define serial killers and how they operate. Now, they may think that they are doing something moral. Maybe they know it's wrong, but I don't think that that was a good moral to kill innocent people and then take parts of their bodies because he may have wanted to, that he may have wanted to graft them and to make him look some, that to me is, and ironically speaking of Jeffrey Dahmer, I guess he found his faith in prison. So there's no telling whether or not he found that that was wrong later. So if you're asking about whether he felt it was moral at the time he was doing it, or maybe he found it or it changed later, because people's sense of morality can possibly change depending on their experience, depending on what they've learned. So that's kind of a question that is broad, if you will, because you have to be talking about different areas of, different aspects of his life. And so, and because of course he's not here to answer that, then we're just speculating. Yeah. You're welcome.
So is it possible for a person like Jeffrey Dahmer to change later in life and get actually converted and say they're sorry and wrong? Is that?
Well, I mean, he certainly did. Do I think that he was properly held accountable for his actions? I guess the way he died may show that.
Sad. Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Go ahead. Correct. Well, I can show you all the scientific articles. The scientists are all agreeing. They've measured the distance to the moon several different ways. Parallax trigonometry is one way. But let's see. I got that slide number 1, seminar part 1. Well, she asked. Well, I can say all of the scientific evidence is that the moon is moving away. There's mathematical ways to do that. Optical. The moon's close. The moon's close enough to know, to measure. Okay. Some of the other planets are not. Pardon me? To measure the distance to something, well, I taught trigonometry for years. That's not what I wanted here. Measure the distance to the moon. There it is right here.
Yeah.
Well, the point, yeah, I think you're missing the point, though. 238.9 thousand miles. Right. Parallax. Yeah, parallax. It probably take observation over a long period of time and be complex mathematics. You have to take into consideration the rotation of the Earth. I'll just show you the articles themselves. What's that? Oh, NASA. I don't know if I need any help on this, but go ahead. All right. And they put it up there. Even before that, they knew the moon was moving away. We shine a laser light at it. That's assuming the speed of light's always constant. But let me finish. Let me reiterate my point. They measured the distance to the moon before there was a mirror on the moon. They didn't wait. Yeah. They measured the distance to the sun thousands of years ago.
So my question to you is, what's going to happen to the moon?
The moon will gradually drift away from us. The moon is moving away.
On a scale from 0 to 100%, well, 100% is no doubt, no way I can be mistaken. All confidence, no doubt. And 0% is all doubt, no confidence. You just said that the moon would go away from us. I'm confident you in that statement.
All I can take is all the evidence we've seen for several hundred years of observation is the moon is moving away. We don't know of anything that's going to stop that. And we know it's a
That's simply a claim. But again, I'm asking you 0 to 100%. Are you 100%?
Am I 100% sure that the moon's going to continue moving away?
Right. You said it's going to go away.
I think based on all observations so far, I'd say I'm 100% correct. The moon is going to move away, continue moving away.
If you're mistaken in that claim, how would you determine?
I guess we'd have to see some scientific evidence of it stop moving or start coming closer. We've seen no scientific evidence of any animal producing a different kind.
It seems like the distance of the moon to the Earth is really crucial to your scientific worldview.
No. I believe the Bible is true before I knew about the moon moving away.
That's also important to understand.
Right.
So it's really not the reason why. It's kind of a smokescreen.
You put that up, Beth?
You kind of pat on the back. But even if you were to accept that, well, maybe I'm mistaken on the moon was you gave the 1.2. Even if you were to be convinced that your view of the moon Earth system is incorrect, you would still believe in the God. Is that correct?
I'm open to any observation. I've seen no way to explain complex things without a God. I admit I believe in God. It's my religious belief. She does not admit she has a religious belief that there is no God.
It's not
The
a
moon,
religious belief, but that's okay.
the moon is.
I'm interested in the real reason why you believe in your God. And the moon seems to be an example to it.
No, the moon is a factor about the age of the Earth. The Earth could be billions of years old and still be made by God.
So if you're mistaken about the orbital mechanics of the Earth and the moon, would that change your belief in what you consider to be the age of the Earth?
No, because
your satisfaction that your understanding of the Earth and the system is incorrect.
no, there's
Would that
probably
change your belief?
no. There's 40 different ways.
The moon Earth thing is, again,
Let me give you an example.
why you believe
Okay,
the Earth to be as old as you believe.
if somebody claimed this big pin, no, this will answer your question. Yeah, I think you did. I think you did too. Okay, I think you made your point very well. Right. Now, if somebody told me this pen was 5,000 years old, I would point out ballpoint pens weren't invented until 1888. That would prove the 5,000-year claim wrong. I still don't know when it was made, but it proves that claim wrong. Then you could say it's made in plastics. Plastics weren't made until 1907. Bic wasn't even a company until 1946. There are lots of ways to prove it's not 5,000 years old. I don't know how old it is, nor do I care, but I know it's not 5,000. So if somebody wishes to claim the Earth is billions of years old, the moon is just one of the ways to disprove that claim. Just like the fact that plastics were made in 1907 is a way to disprove this is fine. Because there are many other scientific evidences that it's less than millions of years old. The moon is, sir, get a life. Listen to me. The moon is not central to my presentation. Okay, there are hundreds. There are probably 40 different scientific clear ways, and many other ways that indicate the Earth is not billions of years old. The Earth is spinning. We're spinning around. We're slowing down 1,000th of a second every day. That's been measured. That's why we have a leap second. Google it, leap second. That's another indication it can't be billions of years old. Step outside and you'll see the sun is burning 5 million tons of fuel every second. Well, that's an indication it can't be billions of years old. It's burning up its fuel. The sun is burnt. The sun is burnt. Go look at it. It's burning. So I go through my video number 1, 30 or 40 or 50, whatever, is different ways to show. Well, the moon is one of the many ways I say it's not billions of years old.
And my question is, how did you get to be so confident? And if you were mistaken, how would you determine that? And what you're showing me is that your epistemology, your ability to know things, is.
And you're showing me you're determined to have billions of years to make your frog turn into a prince, right?
Wow.
Okay. Well, I think there is plenty of scientific evidence this is not 5,000 years old. Right. I like science. The scientific evidence says the Earth can't be billions of years old for lots of scientific reasons. The population of the Earth is growing. The salt in the ocean is increasing. Watch my video number 1. Now, if you could prove the Earth was billions of years old, that's only the first obstacle you have to overcome for evolution. Now you got to get life starting from the soup. Now you got to get matter. How did matter get here? Where did matter come from to begin with? Yeah, time, space, matter. Where did they come from? So the time, getting billions of years, is the first obstacle that evolutionists of hundreds they have to overcome, which they avoid. Yes, sir.
I just want to say thanks for being here for this forum.
Yeah.
I can say that I love you because the God who created this world commanded me to love one another. And the conversation back and forth, I think, is done from a spirit of love because Brother Kent and the rest of the folks here that are saved by the precious blood of Christ can love you because he loved us first. And the God who created us could get a message to us called the Bible. And God can authenticate that message by telling history before it happens. As an example, you talked about Isaac being offered by Abraham. the Jewish people used that as a model of something that's going to come yet in the future, where another father was going to offer his son, and a substitution was going to happen. Or other examples of history before it's telling history before it happens, including the timing of Christ's birth, the location of his birth, the fact that he was going to be born of a virgin. All those things point together that God wrote the Bible and he authenticated it by telling history before it happened. There are other examples from people that are more articulate than myself, and I hope that someday you'll come to the realization that God has something very special in mind for you, and that this might have been the point where a seed might have been planted.
Well, I certainly appreciate your comments there. I appreciate you coming to this debate. I don't agree with what you said at all, but I think that no, I do think that there are older forms of the Immaculate Conception story, like the story of Horus and Osiris and Isis. There are older, and yes, there has been Jewish mythology, which is basically the Old Testament of the Bible. So there are things that people believe, and far be it from me as a non-believer in any of them to try to take that from you. However, I would not simply say that, well, you're going to just simply come to the realization that you're wrong. If you choose to believe that, then okay. But as long as you're making an informed decision about what you believe or don't believe, then that's fine. Then we can probably exist better. Now, do I think am I ever going to believe in a Christian God? No, I will not. And I'm okay with that. That is a part of what y'all call my salvation. I am at peace with that. I am okay with not believing in any forms of God, spirits, or supernatural beings due to the lack of evidence in them. Does that mean that we can't be better human beings for each other? Absolutely not. We certainly can. But thank you for that. I certainly thank you for, being able to engage in this conversation and listen.
No more from here. Any more on the line there, brother? I think this type of discussion has been going on for centuries, so I don't know if we're going to solve it today.
No, of course not.
Okay. No. Dr. Hovind, would abnormalities, mutations, deformities, disability, mental illness, etc., be categorized as sin, God's judgment on mankind? Absolutely not. I'm covering the book of Job in my studies on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday in our Bible study. Job had all kinds of problems, and it wasn't caused by sin. Sometimes it is. I mean, you could smoke cigarettes all your life and destroy your lungs. You can't blame God for that. You stuck the butt in your mouth and sucked on it, so it's your fault. Don't blame God. So I think some people do cause their own problems. If you run your car with no oil, it's going to burn the motor up, and don't blame Ford for that. You did it, okay? But so some of our problems we create ourselves. Sometimes it's other neighbors creating the problem. Hitler created a lot of problems for people, okay? So it's not a simple answer to that. Sometimes it is God's judgment, but okay? Any comments on that one?
No.
Okay, go ahead. Where is a single-celled organism ever turned into a complex organism? Why has evolution stopped? If nothing produced everything, then why does my empty hand not explode? I'll leave that one for you.
For one, scientists have never claimed that evolution has ever stopped. We are always, species are evolving. There may be some sort of species, there are some species that probably have probably stopped producing anatomically or biologically. But if we're talking about evolution in the literal sense, then there are always going to be things that evolve. And if we're comparing, nature to things like pens that are man-made, like comparing apples to oranges, then let's say that as human beings, we tend to evolve. And so that could be in our brains. That certainly, there are certainly plenty of viruses and things that tend to evolve and mutate depending on their habitat. So there are always things that are evolving, even if you may not simply see it in those simple terms.
Well, the reason I use the pen example so often, and atheists will pick on that and say, well, these don't reproduce. Adding the ability to reproduce greatly increases the problem for them. This is a simple illustration. This thing couldn't evolve, and adding reproduction to it, it multiplies many times the problem they have. They're welcome to believe whatever you want to believe.
Actually, humans have improved the use of pens over the years. There was a time where you would dip a feather in ink, but we don't do that anymore.
It took intelligence, didn't it?
No, it took ingenuity. I
Oh,
wouldn't
there we
necessarily
go.
call
Okay.
it
Thank you, ma'am.
intelligence,
Thank you, ma'am. Okay.
but certainly ingenuity and
Right,
trying
right,
to make things
right.
more, probably more feasible for everyone else. So therefore, there are different ways. It doesn't necessarily mean that. Well, certainly, God didn't do it. So.
Oh, certainly
yeah.
God did.
No.
So for the lion to chase the zebra, man, he gets tired. Why didn't the lions invent a car or a skateboard or something?
Well, because they are, you know what, they can move that. But the car was certainly patented probably after, an animal that can go on 4 legs. Certainly something that runs on 4 legs is faster than something that runs on 2.
Well, I don't know about
So
that.
therefore-
Ostrich go pretty fast. But
Well, they probably
and
would not
birds,
feed in-
they don't use their legs at all. They go really fast in the
Well,
air.
yeah, because
I
they
see.
have wings, they fly.
Right, right.
So, yeah.
Okay, Joseph, next question. Here's the truth. No human being was alive when the earth or even the universe was created. How do people come to a place where they assume it was a God with 0% proof? Well, that's where Music Man, I'll answer that first. I think it's for me.
Mm-hmm.
I think when you see something complex, you assume there's a designer. If I'm walking through our gravel pit and find an arrowhead, it's also made out of stone, like the rest of the rocks around here. But I would know intuitively somebody designed this. It's an arrowhead, and it's designed for a reason. And so I think I would assume it'd be silly to say an arrowhead could make itself by natural processes, exfoliation or thermal expansion or whatever, abrasion. So I think to see a cell under the microscope and say, wow, this thing has a DNA code. The DNA code from one person tied together would stretch across the solar system twice. That's the code to make a human. If someone wishes to believe nobody designed that, I think that's foolish. But they can believe it, but don't call it science. To see an arrowhead laying in the gravel pit, it would be foolish to say nobody made it. To find a screw or a nut or a bolt laying on the driveway would be foolish to say nobody created it. Somebody made the nut or the bolt or the screw or the nail. And it's foolish to say there is no God. The Bible says the fool said in his heart there's no God. That's what it says twice in the Bible, Psalm 14, Psalm 53. So I think just normal intuition would say somebody had to make it. The difference is we admit we believe that by faith. They do not admit theirs is a religion. She'll deny it right now. Go ahead, deny it.
I most certainly will.
There you go.
I'm not even denying. I'm stating that it is
It's
not
a fact.
religion. No.
Okay, it's a fact.
Yeah, because
anyway.
You're right? You're right about everything.
Not everything. My wife corrects me when I'm not. Twice.
Well, I certainly hope so. She probably has to do a lot. But
no,
anyway.
just twice so far. Okay. So what's your answer to this one? Since no human being was alive when the earth was created, how do people come to the place where they assume it was God? What's your answer? Do you have any comment on that one?
Well, thank you for that, Music Man Dre. So I am not the person who's coming to that place that I'm assuming that it was a God. I don't assume
assuming
that
there's no God.
did it.
Okay,
no,
okay.
He said, how do people come to a place where they assume it was a God with zero proof? That's the question that we ask y'all. That is the question that we ask, that y'all are saying that God did it. You're saying that it is according to your belief, and that you're sitting up here trying to debunk all of these other scientific claims, but yet you are not producing much of anything that shows that your belief is true or even better than what science claims.
I think I produced plenty, but that's okay. Joseph, next question, and it's lunchtime, and we've gone 2 hours now. Oh, hang on, one more from the audience. And do it louder so we can hear.
I would just like to make a statement. I hate to go back to this subject because I know it was a sensitive subject, but in the Bible, when God first created Adam and Eve and they had children, there were no downtown stores. There was nowhere to go for food. Should someone's parents die, those children had nowhere to go. If you were a teenager, you lost your parents, you had nowhere to go. So you would become someone's servant.
Is that necessarily true? Because in different civilizations, and I hope I'm talking into the mic, I'm responding to, there were different cultural civilizations that if there were relatives that they would take them in, then they might become orphans or maybe adopted by other families. That would be what communities are for, to help raise, like, let's say if there was a child whose parents died unexpectedly, then someone else would hopefully step up to raise them as a community, not necessarily becoming their servants. If that is what happened in the Bible, then I would take issue or exception with that. Because why would a child who lost their parents through no fault of their own have to become a servant to someone else, if that makes sense?
The way that it started with two people and then community grew until the flood, according to our belief, there was no welfare system. There was no place to go. If family members didn't get along as they don't today, as we have an example that the prodigal son ran out and he became someone else's servant, it was that person's welfare that was being considered by other people. So they said, sure, come in, be my servant, whatever you want to call it. That was the word. 99% of the time in the Bible, the word is servant. It is not slave. Twice the Bible says the word slave. That was their system back then. You worked for me for so long, we agreed upon that. They married, they had families. When the time was up, they left. So really it was a welfare system under the name of servanthood. Joseph was stolen and sold, and God did not like that. But because this whole system was created to take care of people, God gave them rules. So he never did condone evil. And a lot of what people did became evil, but he never condoned evil.
Well, again, that just becomes to, I mean, and these are the things that you believe in the Bible.
Right, if people's going to accuse the Bible of being evil, I'm here to say that that was not an evil thing. That was their welfare system.
Yeah, okay. Well, if I choose to go, if I tell somebody, look, I need a place to live, I'll come live at your place, I'll work, I'll fix your cars, I'll mow your grass, I'll be your servant for the next 3 years in exchange for a roof over my head and utilities and food. That's not slavery, it's an exchange.
Well, you're,
and she's saying most of what's in the Bible is that type of arrangement, as opposed to, but we're over time and we're off on a different topic. But
okay, yeah.
Any more important ones there, Joseph?
All right then.
Somebody heard you believe in a firmament. They want to know if they're flat earth.
Kansas is flat, part of Nebraska is flat, and the rest of it's round. So no, I'm not a flat earther. Did you have a comment on?
No.
Okay.
That's it for me.
Well, Mandissa, thank you for coming. You're welcome to come back anytime. Bring the family next time. If you got time to stay after lunch, we'll give you the tour if you want to stay, unless you got to drive back to Atlanta. But stay for a couple days. We got a cabin for you. We've been open for free for 8 years. We'll feed you, house you. After a couple of days, we give you a hammer, put you to work. We got lots to do around here. Thank you so much for joining us. Any closing comments?
No, thank you to everyone who tuned in. Please visit Black Nonbelievers website at blacknonbelievers.org. We are an organization that supports not just Black folks, but other allies. And please do support our work. We co-sponsor a student scholarship and other humanitarian efforts. So yes, please do learn more about us.
It was Black Nonbelievers?
Correct. Black Nonbelievers.
Okay.
Yes.
Good. And ours is drdino.com, D-R-D-I-N-O, around about 10 different channels. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much.
Glad you came.
Thank
See you tomorrow.